Stop forcing doors that aren't yours. Too many people waste their energy chasing things that were never meant to belong to them. They keep pushing, striving, knocking, trying to make something happen that God already said no to. And then they wonder why it feels like everything is heavy, hard, and constantly falling apart. When you're trying to open a door that isn't meant for you, no amount of effort will make it work. You can cry, hustle, or fast for it, but if it's not your assignment, it won't last. God doesn't bless what he didn't build. So if you're trying to construct something that's not in his blueprint for your life, it's only a matter of time before it collapses under pressure. You've got to understand that some doors are closed for your protection. Some opportunities look good on the surface, but would destroy your peace, your purpose, or your character. God will block what you're not ready for or what's not aligned with your destiny. That rejection that broke your heart was really a rescue. That missed opportunity wasn't a failure. It was divine redirection. Because if you walk through a door that wasn't designed for you, you'll end up fighting battles you were never equipped to fight. You'll burn out trying to survive in a room you were never supposed to be in. Stop trying to make people stay who were never meant to go with you. Some relationships are seasonal. Some connections have expiration dates. You're holding on to people who can't handle your next level. They were part of your story, but not part of your future. And when God starts to elevate you, he'll start separating you. That's not loneliness. It's positioning. You're not being abandoned. You're being refined. You're being pulled out of the wrong environment so you can fit into the right one. Don't get bitter about what walked away. Some people leaving your life is the very thing that opens space for God's real blessing to enter. You've got to stop begging for acceptance in places that were never designed to celebrate you. Stop knocking on doors that keep slamming in your face. Every no is just a sign that you're knocking on the wrong one. When you're aligned with purpose, you don't have to chase approval or force access. The right doors will open naturally. They'll recognize your name. They'll see your preparation and your faith and make room for you. Forcing a door to open before its time only brings frustration and delay. The more you try to force something, the more resistance you create. But when you step back and trust God's timing, peace follows. This isn't about laziness. It's about wisdom. There's a difference between working hard and forcing outcome. God honors effort, but he also honors obedience. You can't bulldoze your way into blessing. The moment you stop forcing things, you make space for divine flow. That's when the supernatural takes over. You'll see favor fall into place without you even pushing for it. You'll meet the right person without chasing them. You'll get the opportunity without manipulation because you stopped fighting the wrong battles and started aligning with divine order. You've got to learn how to discern the difference between persistence and resistance. Persistence is when God says, keep going, even though it's tough. Resistance is when God says, stop pushing. This isn't your lane. And if you keep ignoring that resistance, you'll keep running into closed doors that drain your spirit. That's why prayer and patience are so powerful. They help you recognize when something's not for you. So stop forcing it. Stop chasing validation. Stop trying to open doors that God already locked. What's meant for you will always find you when you're ready. The right door will never require you to compromise who you are or beg for entry. The moment you release control, you'll realize that what's yours doesn't need to be forced. It flows. Delay doesn't mean denial. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it never will. The waiting season is not a wasted season. It's where your faith is being tested. Your patience is being stretched and your character is being built. Too many people give up because they confuse God's silence with his absence. But silence doesn't mean he's forgotten you. It means he's working behind the scenes. God's timing is not your timing. And if you try to rush his plan, you'll end up missing the blessing that was designed to fit perfectly into your life. Every delay carries a lesson, and every lesson is part of your preparation. You've got to learn to trust the process, even when it doesn't make sense. The blessing you're praying for may be ready, but God's waiting until you are. If he gave it to you too early, you might not have the maturity, the strength, or the discipline to handle it. That's why he holds certain doors shut until you've grown into the version of yourself that can handle what's on the other side. The delay isn't punishment, it's protection. It's proof that God sees the whole picture while you're only looking at one frame. Sometimes you think you're ready because you want it so bad, but desire doesn't equal readiness. You can't microwave destiny. You can't skip the process. When you try to force what isn't ready, you'll end up frustrated, burned out, or broken. God knows exactly when to release what belongs to you. The moment you're equipped, prepared, and positioned, that door you've been waiting on will swing open so fast, it'll make sense why it had to take this long. The problem is most people quit too early. They stop believing right before the breakthrough hits. They let frustration talk them out of faith. But you've got to stay steady in the delay. You've got to keep praising when nothing's moving, keep working when no one's watching, and keep sowing when you don't see results. Because faith doesn't grow when things happen instantly. It grows in the waiting. The delay is where your trust in God becomes real. It's easy to believe when everything's happening fast. Real faith is believing when it feels like nothing's happening at all. Think of every great story in Scripture. There was always a waiting period between promise and manifestation. Noah had to build before the rain came. Joseph had to sit in a prison before the palace. David had to face rejection before he wore the crown. The delay was part of the preparation. It toughened them, humbled them, and positioned them for purpose. The same principle applies to you. What feels like a delay is actually divine training for the next level. When you start viewing delay as development, frustration loses its power. You begin to understand that the waiting isn't holding you back. It's building you up. It's teaching you endurance. It's sharpening your focus. It's training you to rely on faith instead of feelings. And when you finally get what you've been praying for, you'll be able to sustain it, not sabotage it. You've got to stop interpreting delay as denial. The blessing hasn't been canceled. It's being customized. It's being shaped for your exact situation. Sometimes God is aligning people, shifting circumstances, and clearing obstacles you don't even know exist. And because you can't see it, you think nothing's happening. But heaven is busy arranging your breakthrough. So while you wait, don't waste the wait. Use it to grow. Use it to strengthen your mindset, refine your habits, and deepen your faith. The delay is your divine classroom. The longer it feels, the greater the preparation happening beneath the surface. When it finally arrives, you'll understand why it couldn't have come a moment sooner. Every delay is divine timing in disguise. Preparation always comes before promotion. Everyone wants the spotlight, the success, the recognition, but few are willing to go through the process that builds them strong enough to handle it. You can't skip preparation and expect lasting promotion. God never promotes potential. He promotes preparation, the hidden seasons, the quiet work, the long nights, the unseen sacrifices. Those are where your character is forged and your faith is proven. Too many people want to stand on a stage they haven't trained for. They want the victory without the discipline, the influence without the integrity. But what you build in private determines how long you'll last in public. When you're in the preparation season, it can feel like nothing's happening. You're grinding, showing up, doing your best, and still not seeing the breakthrough. But that's the test. God is measuring your consistency. He's checking if you'll still show up even when no one's clapping for you. Preparation is where God refines your heart, humbles your ego, and teaches you how to handle blessing without letting it destroy you. Because success without preparation is a setup for failure. You can't hold a blessing your character isn't strong enough to carry. Every great person went through a season of preparation before elevation. Moses spent years in the desert before leading a nation. David learned to fight lions and bears before facing Goliath. Joseph managed prison before managing a palace. Every hidden battle was preparing them for public victory. That's how God works. He uses obscurity to build capacity. While you're asking for promotion, he's saying, Show me preparation. Show me discipline. Show me faithfulness. Show me that you can be trusted with more. The waiting room of preparation is not punishment. It's a proving ground. It's where you build habits that last, where you develop the mindset of a finisher. Everyone can start, few can sustain. The preparation phase is what separates the wishers from the warriors. It's where you learn to push through doubt, delay, and disappointment. It's where you stop chasing feelings and start operating by faith. You can't walk into your next season carrying the same mentality from the last one. Preparation is about transformation. It's about becoming the version of yourself that can handle what you're praying for. Sometimes preparation looks like loss. It looks like being overlooked, ignored, or passed up, but that's not rejection. It's redirection. God hides you on purpose so you can grow in peace. He doesn't want your roots to be shallow. He wants them deep, strong, and unshakable, because when promotion comes, it brings pressure. And if you're not grounded, pressure will crush you. Preparation builds endurance so pressure can't break you. You've got to start honoring your preparation season. Stop complaining about where you are and start mastering it. Stop rushing to get out and start growing where you're planted. The more you embrace it, the faster you develop. Every skill you sharpen now, every challenge you face now, every test you pass now, it's setting you up for where you're going. The people who succeed aren't the ones who get lucky. They're the ones who stay ready. They prepare before the opportunity shows up. Don't wait until the door opens to get ready. Be ready before it does. That's the mindset that attracts divine promotion. God doesn't open doors for people still fumbling with the keys. He opens them for those who have proven they're responsible, consistent, and faithful. When you're prepared, you don't need to chase opportunities. They start chasing you. The world notices discipline. Heaven honors readiness. Promotion is never random. It's always a response to preparation. Faith is your greatest strategy when everything around you looks uncertain, when the timing doesn't make sense, when doors keep closing. Faith becomes the force that keeps you moving forward. You can't think your way through every season, but you can believe your way through it. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting the one who does. It's about standing firm when nothing seems to be working, declaring that what you can't see is still on the way. Faith isn't weak hope or blind optimism. It's the decision to act like God's promise is already fulfilled. Even when your situation says otherwise, faith is what separates the spectators from the achievers. It's the power that turns fear into fuel and waiting into worship. When you live by faith, you stop needing to understand every detail before you move. You just move knowing that if God said it, He'll make a way for it. That's why the people who live in faith always seem unstoppable. They're not driven by circumstance. They're driven by conviction. Faith doesn't ignore the facts, but it refuses to be controlled by them. You might see obstacles, but faith sees opportunities. You might see delay, but faith sees divine timing. You might see a closed door, but faith sees a hallway filled with potential. Most people lose because they let fear dictate their strategy. They let doubt shrink their dreams. But faith doesn't wait for perfect conditions, creates them. Faith speaks before results show up. It invests before the harvest. It keeps walking when the road is dark. That's how you partner with the supernatural. You bring your faith and God brings the favor. You bring belief and He brings breakthrough. Without faith, you'll always depend on what's logical, but logic doesn't move mountains. Faith does. Yeah. When life slows down or things don't go your way, that's when faith is really tested. Anybody can believe when everything is going right. Real faith shows up when nothing is working, when the money's low, when the doors are closed, when the pressure is high. That's when faith separates you from everyone else. Faith says, I may not see it yet, but I know it's coming. Faith says, I may be walking through a valley, but I'm not dying here. Faith says, this delay is not the end, it's the setup. When you hold on to that kind of faith, you tap into a level of strength that fear can't touch. Faith is also action. It's not just believing in your head, it's moving your feet. You can pray for opportunity all you want, but if you're not preparing for it, you're not walking in faith, you're just wishing. Faith shows up early, stays ready, and works even when no one's watching. It says, I'm not waiting for the door to open to act like I belong there. I'm preparing right now. That's how faith pulls the future into the present. It acts like the promise is already done. The world rewards people who act in faith. Doors open faster for those who believe boldly. God doesn't respond to fear or worry. He responds to faith. Every time you choose faith over frustration, you shift the atmosphere around you. Faith draws favor. Faith draws resources. Faith draws results. That's why the most powerful thing you can do in any season of uncertainty is believe. Not halfway, not sometimes, but fully. When you lead with faith, you start seeing obstacles as training grounds and delays as divine detours. You stop panicking about how and start focusing on who. Faith turns confusion into clarity because it keeps your focus on the promise, not the problem. It's not about how strong you are. It's about how strong your belief is. The deeper your faith, the greater your results. When you're ready, the right door will chase you. You won't have to beg for it, manipulate it, or force it to open. What's meant for you will start moving toward you the moment you become aligned with your purpose. Readiness isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's when your faith, your mindset, your habits, and your character line up with what God has prepared for you. When you reach that point, opportunities that used to ignore you start noticing you. People who once overlooked you begin to recognize the value you carry. Things that felt impossible suddenly start flowing because divine timing and your preparation have finally met. The reason some doors stay shut is because you're not yet in position to handle what's behind them. God won't release what you can't sustain. He doesn't want your blessing to become your burden. So he waits. He waits until your mindset is strong enough, your heart is pure enough, and your spirit is mature enough to carry what's next. When you finally become that version of yourself, you won't have to go looking for the door. It'll find you. That's the power of alignment. What's yours will always know how to locate you. The right door doesn't need convincing. It recognizes readiness. That's why you've got to focus on becoming, not just arriving. Everyone wants to walk through the door of success, but few want to do the internal work that gets them there. You can't just pray for opportunities. You have to prepare for them. You have to develop the habits, discipline, and consistency that attract favor. Once you do, the doors that used to reject you will start opening without struggle, not because they suddenly changed, but because you did. When you're ready, you move differently. You stop chasing validation and start walking in confidence. You stop begging for chances and start commanding attention through excellence. You stop worrying about when things will happen because you know timing is never an obstacle for someone in alignment. The moment you're prepared, the opportunity reveals itself. Life rewards those who are ready. Heaven accelerates those who are disciplined. The waiting season is not about inactivity. It's about becoming the kind of person who can stand in the blessing without losing themselves. Readiness is more than skill. It's spiritual maturity. It's being humble enough to handle favor without arrogance, strong enough to face success without compromise, and wise enough to manage increase without chaos. God doesn't elevate people based on emotion. He elevates them based on endurance. When you're faithful in the small things, He trusts you with the big things. When you stay consistent through the unseen seasons, He knows you're ready for visibility. That's when doors start chasing you because you've proven that you can handle what they hold. You've got to stop asking for open doors and start asking to be made ready. The faster you grow, the faster things begin to shift. The right door isn't delayed. It's waiting for the right version of you to show up. Once you've built the faith, the discipline, and the strength to handle it, that door doesn't just open, it swings wide. You won't have to knock because preparation speaks louder than words. Favor recognizes readiness like a magnet. When the right door comes, it won't require you to prove your worth or beg for a spot. It will come with peace, clarity, and confirmation. You'll feel alignment instead of anxiety, flow instead of frustration. That's how you'll know it's yours. It'll chase you because you've become the person capable of carrying it. When you get ready, life responds. Haven responds, everything starts to move in your favor. Stay hungry, stay obedient, and stay positioned. The moment you lose hunger, you lose momentum. The second you stop obeying divine instruction, you drift out of alignment. And when you stop positioning yourself for what you've been praying for, you block your own breakthrough. Hunger is what keeps your fire alive when the world tries to put it out. Obedience is what keeps you on the path when distractions start screaming for attention. Positioning is what keeps you ready when opportunity shows up. These three forces, hunger, obedience, and positioning, are what separate people who wish from people who walk in manifestation. Hunger means never settling. It's the mindset that says, I'm grateful, but I'm not done. It's knowing that where you are right now is not the end of your story. Hunger pushes you to grow, learn, and stretch even when things are comfortable. Comfort kills potential. The people who reach greatness are the ones who stay hungry even after small victories. They don't stop showing up once they see progress. They double down and go harder. Hunger says, I refuse to get stuck at this level. It's that unshakable desire to keep building, keep improving, and keep moving forward. But hunger without obedience becomes chaos. You can have all the drive in the world, but if it's not directed by divine guidance, you'll end up chasing the wrong goals. Obedience keeps your hunger aligned with purpose. It's not about doing what feels easy. It's about doing what's right. When God gives you an instruction, even if it doesn't make sense, obedience is the key that unlocks favor. Some of the biggest blessings you'll ever experience are connected to simple acts of obedience. Sometimes it's not the big dramatic decisions that change your life. It's saying yes to the small instructions no one else notices. Obedience often feels uncomfortable because it stretches you beyond your preferences. It requires trust. It means giving up control, following direction, and staying faithful even when you don't understand why. But obedience produces outcomes that effort alone can't. It opens doors that hustle can't touch. When you obey consistently, you attract supernatural momentum. You don't have to chase blessings. They start chasing you. Positioning is where faith and action meet. It's not enough to pray for something. You have to be where God can find you when the blessing arrives. Too many people pray for rain, but never build a roof. They talk about opportunity, but don't prepare for it. Positioning means being ready mentally, spiritually, and physically for the next level. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's about being found faithful in the small things so you're qualified for the big ones. Staying positioned also means protecting your environment. You can't stay aligned if you're surrounded by negativity. You can't stay ready if you're distracted by people who don't share your vision. Who you surround yourself with affects your position. Stay connected to people who challenge your growth, who push you higher, who remind you of your calling when you feel like quitting. The right environment fuels your hunger and strengthens your obedience. These three principles work together. Hunger keeps you moving, obedience keeps you aligned, and positioning keeps you ready. When you live by that rhythm, doors open naturally. You won't have to chase opportunity because your life will be positioned for it. God promotes those who stay faithful in the field, not those who wait on the sidelines. If you stay hungry, keep listening, and remain in position, nothing can stop what's meant for you.